Oh, we got a good episode for you today. Our guest is Robert Graves, and this is one of the more fascinating, well-rounded humans that I personally know. He's a Marine. He has multiple master's degrees, master's of business for veterans, sports psychology, worked with Olympians, published author, and just a brilliant heart-based man. And this conversation is filled with absolutely golden nuggets for resiliency, for leadership, and leading a very meaningful life.
It's also really helpful if you're new to visualization, what that looks like. We really unpack that at a deep level. So it's a fun conversation. You want to listen to this one. Jump in, get the nuggets, and we'll see you there. Welcome to another episode of the Wenner Folsom podcast, your source for battle-tested leadership and resiliency. And we have an exciting guest for you today. Don't we, Philip?
This is Mr. Robert Graves, and you're one of my favorite humans. I'm just saying that. The way you show up, what you provide, the space that you hold is really important for myself and for a lot of people in our community. So you are a very interesting human. I met you at the Masters of Business for Veterans program from USC Marshall. What
Correct.
What cohort was that?
We were cohort six. Chapter six.
Yeah. I'm actually working with cohort 10 this Saturday. So looking forward to seeing you down there. You're also a published author, How to Grow a Beard. You're a Marine, and you're a father. You're a husband. You're a member of a pretty great men's group.
That's right.
And you're the director of a veteran service organization. Ooh, look at my man. So, not only do you have, you've written a book and you work in that transitionary reintegration space, but you're somebody who's actively navigating the journey of, warrior culture, being a father, being a Marine, being a leader in organizations, and also operating at a high level in the civilian space. So there's a lot of different topics there about vitality and resiliency and leadership, and just excited about having this conversation with you today and chopping it up.
No, I'm most excited, and thank you for having me on, gentlemen. And just like you said, we met at USC. I had just come out of my master's program for sport and performance psychology at CSUN, Cal State Northridge. And then I was interning at West Point at their Center of Enhanced Performance over that summer before I started at USC. So it was real, and it's interesting about transition because I'm in a transitional state right now where I've just realized that for the last 12 years, once I got out of the Marine Corps, I've just been head down, focused on moving forward. And now that I look back, I've got this family, 2 kids, wife, house, mortgage, 401k. I'm trying to figure out that now I need to just slow down and put all that energy that I've put into being of service to other people out in the world and helping them change their lives to change my kids' life, right? So that's where I'm at. And when we met at USC, I just kind of transitioned out of that mindfulness space, big, huge spot. And then you invited me to, your backyard fire pit. And there was this fireside chat of men. And it was something that I hadn't had in so long, right? And it was emotionally pulling. And then, it was fire from there. Met Josh through K4, and I've seen the transformation of you putting your goals into motion and really leading from the front, you two. So, this is incredible that I get to have the opportunity to have this time with you.
Beautiful. And you also mentioned just before we hit record, that going back into the high performance space. And this is always something that, I remembered you talking about visualization one day. And that's something that both of you, Josh and Robert, you guys are visualizers. And that's something that I'm aware of it, but I've never actually done it. It doesn't seem like something that's real for me.
Yeah.
And yet, you guys are both 2 people who you do affirmations and you do visualizations. And so that might be a fun place to start, because I would learn a few things about that.
Look, I came back from, let me just talk about West Point. right? For a good snippet of how this all works. I didn't know I was supposed to be going to West Point. It was just a whim. I saw it on an email, applied for the internship, unpaid internship, no room and board. I have this house and my wife and my kid that need to be fed and a mortgage. And I was like, well, let's sell the house, get a camper and go find our next place. She's like, hell no. So I lived in the back of a truck, right? I drove our 4Runner across to New York, from LA to New York. And I was like, I'm doing this. And on the way over there, I was like, the whole time, I'm going to knock it out of the park so well that they're going to offer me a job. I'm going to knock it out of the park so well they're going to offer me a job. And if they can't offer me a job, they're going to recommend me to somebody. And I went there, and the gentleman, there was a gentleman who had been there for 10 years, and his wife was getting a job at Penn State. And he had gotten there as a master's student, and he was leaving. And so this whole summer, they're like, apply for this job, apply for this job. My wife's like, we're not moving to New York. So it had an issue with turmoil. But I came back, and for 2 years, they said, take this job. I had put that into my life. Mind you, they gave me all of I had open access to the records, and I found out that I was the third selected of 2 interns, and the first selected got pregnant. So I was just a backup, right? And then the backup's being offered the job. And then I come back and I write on my mirror in dry erase marker, success blesses our lives and our freedoms are abundant because all the work that we have done pays off in dividends daily. And it stayed there for like 2 months, and my wife finally just erased it. I was like, what'd you do? And she printed it, and now it hangs above my bed, right? But that's my affirmation. My son says it. I mean, and I say it to others because, and you guys know, like, all the work, right? All that overnight success bullshit that we experience, right? All that work behind the scenes, it pays off in dividends daily, whether it's through conversation, whether it's through, hey, you know what, we're starting a podcast. Who do we know that's interesting, that has a great story, right? Like, I'm able to help individuals in that mindset, help them improve their world through the way that I see myself moving through the world. It's crazy. So yeah, the visualization, I was a radar guy in the Marine Corps. I built radars take care of radars for 10 years, did it for another 6. And so the law of attraction to me makes sense scientifically, right? If energy cannot be created nor destroyed, but when we have thoughts, it turns into electricity, right? Electricity has frequency. If a radar pushes out 104 hertz, it's expecting to hear 104 hertz coming back, right? If you're listening for 102.7 KISS FM in the morning, but you're tuned into 105.9, you're not getting Brian Seacrest, right? You're getting something else. So if you're pushing it out there, you're pushing it out there in this omnidirectional antenna called the universe, and you're pushing it out there, it's coming back to you. And if you're open to receive it like radar is, then guess what? You're on frequency. You're moving forward.
Wow. Love that. I have never heard that framing before. And just a slightly different integration protocol around it is, for me, it's very similar, but very different. And I love the science you broke down. For me, I just look at it like, what am I moving towards? And if you look at race car drivers, like, they don't look at where they want to go, not at where they don't want to go. And so if you look at the wall, you're going to hit the wall. So you have to look away from it when you're making turns, you'll run into it. And so that general philosophy, I know my first show that I did, I would visualize getting on stage. So once I'd done my posing, once I'd done all the work, I would just sit there and I would go through a visualization that I was walking out on stage. And the first couple times I did it, I would walk out on stage and I'd be nervous. I'd be trying to focus on all my footwork and I'd be fumbling, and I wouldn't like it. That was the visualization. And I had to keep repping the visualization until I would walk out. How was my calmness? How was my energy? It was high, exciting, vibrant. And the repetition, at least for me on the visualization, when I'm integrating something, it's very detailed. It's like, oh, this type of movement, this type of structure, and you can get focused in the head on the details or the fundamentals. But when I'm repeating in my mind, when I'm presenting, when I was there, it wasn't working. What I had to move in my head is, don't even focus on the details. I just already got it. I could trust I have it. I'm going to walk out on stage. I'm going to be smiling. I'm going to be big smile on my face. I'm just walking up and hitting the moves. So it took me from fundamentals to focusing on the big picture presentation. And I repped it so many times, but by the time I walked on stage, all the fundamentals were out the window. And I was just basically going through what I'd repped a bunch of times in the brain. And so I think the visualization just preps us for how we're going to show up. What are we calling in? And I liked how you tied that. What station are we tuning into?
Yeah. And, visualization helps you trust the process, just like you were saying, right? Like you stopped visualizing and you went through this automatic, reaction of where to go, how to feel. But when we talk to athletes and we go through this process with them, we take it to a whole nother level of externally visualize yourself, right? Sit in the audience and watch yourself go through your routine, right? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Where do you see? And then, tune that up in your mind over and over and over again. And just like you're saying, you're getting those reps, right? Pele is famous to have said that, but his warm-up routine, Pele, the famous soccer player, right? His warm-up routine was before every game, he would go lay down in a corner, put a towel over his head, and visualize himself as a youth playing the game on the beach with his friends, and internalize that joy, right? That fun, that fire that gives him the want to play soccer. Then he goes back and he visualizes all these acclimates he got while, adolescent, and then he visualizes the game he's about to play. Right? What juke moves he's about to do, who's going to pass it to. And he's already played the game a few times in his head before he stands on the stage. Golfers, the whole shebang. That's the key to success. Seeing in your head first, right?
Hey, Robert, was you this went to the Olympic Training Center just to see what it fucking smelled like? Was that you?
Yeah, Carlsbad. Yeah.
Just so you could fucking visualize that better. That's
I didn't know you remember that. Yeah, for sure.
Come on, man.
I had graduated from USC and we went down to Legoland for my kid's birthday, right? We went to Legoland and I said, we can't leave here without going to the Olympic Center, because I want nothing more than to be able to walk out into the Olympics with an athlete, with somebody that I helped train and get there, right? Or, be there as an air rifle shooter or something. I don't know. But yeah, I wanted to put myself in that position where I could be there, see there, so I can go there as many times as I want to be. Yeah, I forgot you do that, man. That's funny.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I know, Philip, we talk a lot about, we talk about the hero's journey. And one of the things to get to the hero's journey is having this faith, and it shows up in different ways, different language. But to me, that's how you use the faith, is when you don't know the way, the mind can typically focus on what's going to go wrong. And so the visualization helps go like, I'm going to have faith. What's the best possible outcome? And how do I start repping that outcome? And for me, it's a really good lever to step into that faith when I can't see it. And I'm just going to choose the path that I want. And worst case scenario, what's the worst it can do if I'm visualizing that happening? And I'll tell you one more quick sidebar. My father, I caught this in a pattern with my father, is I had the same thing. That's how I caught it in him, is I noticed I'm a planner. So I like to plan things and ritualize things. And if something would go wrong, unconsciously, I would move into, well, fuck, this is going to go wrong. This is going to go, like, I would ruin the moment because one thing went off. I was a little late. I'm going to miss the flight. And then half the time I would miss it. And then once I started using this strategy, like, all right, I'm late, can't control anything. Let me just visualize it all works out. All the lights open. I get there right on time and I get the seat I want. And I started visualizing that. 90% of the time, it all flows, it all works. And so I was like, oh, it shifted. And then I even took that to my dad because I noticed he would do the same thing. And I started saying, well, do we have to create the worst scenario? Why can't we just, what do you want to happen? What would be the best possible scenario in the moment when he was all flustered and making a big chaos? This is going to go wrong. And I was like, well, time out. Like, what do you want to happen?
Yeah.
Well, and then once he started to step into it, he started to shift. And so it's a real time thing, not just around goals, but I can see it applied towards, hey, when you get flustered or want to ruin the day, can you just stop and say, what do I actually want to happen? And let me focus on that and visualize that. And if it doesn't, it's already may get ruined, but I have a better chance of it happening if I put myself in a better visualized state.
Yeah. I was working with a therapist who was saying that there was actually clinical research about just simply reframing an event as a positive because of our kind of predator heritage, that our brain basically only says yes to things. So if you're putting up a negative scenario, it's saying, okay, yes. And then so for example, I think the example he used was, don't forget the milk. Well, you just told your brain to forget the milk.
Don't
So you say, remember the milk. Your brain goes, oh, okay, remember the milk. You just tell me what to do. Because all it is just an operating system that's built to get your needs met. So what are you telling your operating system that you want the output to be? So remember the milk, make your flight, whatever the scenario is. And so is visualizing, honest question, is it like lucid dreaming or something? Like, what is it actually? Because I can't do it. I mean, I'm going to lay here on the floor and I'm just going to.
So check this out. If you close your eyes and if anybody says, okay, what do you see? Nothing. Well, what does nothing look like? Right? You can still expand on what nothing looks like. Well, nothing's black. There are some red dots in my face. Okay, well, some streaks. What are those streaks doing for you? Well, they're making me confused. And so you can always expand on what nothing or something is. So it's funny you asked this, Philip, because like here I am, sports psychologist, master's degree, go certified hypnotherapy, went to West Point. And again, back to this whole conversation of like, I want to turn this energy that I've been bulldozing into other people back into my world. I told my 8-year-old, I said, man, you can be the Michael Phelps of whatever you want to be. If it's cooking, music, if it's art, if it's archery, whatever you want to be, I've got the tools to help you get there. So what am I doing right now? Before bed, we go through visualization. We're going through progressive body relaxation. We're going through imagery. And how I try to get them at here, I was like, what does it smell like? 5 senses. What can you hear? What does it look like? What are the colors? Are they vibrant? Do the colors bring smell, right? Like, do they have a texture? And the more that you can put into a visualization or a moment of imagery, right? Then you can reap. Here's the deal. Kids can play cops and robbers and pretend they're actual cops and robbers because what the mind believes or what you're feeding it is, like we said, we talk about this all the time. What you feed it is actual. The brain cannot determine what's real and fake. It's going through this right now. So if I am going through this visualization moment and I'm playing volleyball and I can feel the warmth of the sun on my face, I can hear the seagulls, I've got the ball and I feel the leather between my 2 fingertips and my thumbs, and I push it out, I can, I'm just putting this in my brain and it's all real. Again, you're getting the reps. And I'll end it kind of on this in, again, a scientific way, right? In VR, physical therapists are constructing rooms where if, let's say you just had a knee replacement and you can't move your knee past the 3-degree angle, in VR, they're going at 15 degrees. Okay, move your knee as far as you can, right? So they can move it 3 degrees today. Next week, it's 7 degrees. By the time they hit that 15 degrees, they've already cut out 2 weeks of physical therapy, right? Because the mind is already saying, hey, I've already seen you do this. It's possible. And so, possibilities are endless, gentlemen.
Hey, we thank you for listening to the Wenner Folsom podcast. Just a couple quick notes. First, if you are a man and you're looking for an honorable and inspiring group of men to hold you accountable and challenge you to grow in your relationships, your fitness, your career, your finances, and your life, go to www.k4men.com. And if you are a veteran, first responder, or man or woman who deals with trauma, and you're looking for some resiliency tools and skills for you, your team, or your organization, go to valorresiliency.com. Hope to see you there. Back to the podcast. Yeah, there's also something pretty commonly used called NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming. And a lot of this is essentially what we're talking about. Different pieces of this is color, sound, like how our brain processes things. You'd be surprised if you say, hey, when somebody's in a depressed state, and you start to visualize yourself and see yourself, is it dark? Are you alone? Is it black and white, right? Like depressed states are going to take you more into that. If you're feeling joyful and happy and you look at a whole nother picture, what are you visualizing? You're going to visualize bright colors. You're in the picture, right? It's a whole different one. So there's a lot of therapies like that can be used to repattern neuro associations with what you're actually patterning. and moving towards. The only caveat I'd say, because I've used this for all my goal setting, but for a while I would set goals too big, and this is at least just my own personal journey. So I've found that this is the sweet spot of this is if I set a goal, and I've done, when I went to work with Tony Robbins, all my friends at the time said, why don't you start somewhere smaller? Like that's too big. But I repped it and visualized that. And that was a really big push for me to actually get that, one of 5 guys that was on an elite team with it. But it was really hard to do. But there has been some things that didn't make sense and my brain couldn't grasp in the visualizations. It was real. And it actually worked the opposite. Like if I said I wanted to be a billionaire in the next year and I repped that every day visualizing and I didn't make it happen, I could potentially start to feel shame or some other emotion. So to me, that's where, when we do our goal setting, when I say, hey, stretch yourself, you don't want to say, hey, I already know I can hit it, stretch past it, but not so far past that it's totally unrealistic to the brain. Because I do find there's a level there that if it's too unrealistic, that's when you get into weird water. But you can make massive shifts as long as you just keep stretching past your go and visualizing the end game. As long as the end game's 20 years from now or 30 years from now or 40 years from now, that'll make sense too. So making sure you're taking into consideration time with the visualization to make sure they're realistic in the stretch, because amazing shit can happen. So there is a caveat to that. Do you find the same thing, Robert?
It's funny because like the whole time I'm saying like, well, he's just saying smart goals, and you're like, well, it's gotta be realistic and it's gotta be timely, right? You hit all of the letter acronyms of SMART, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And being a billionaire next year, is it attainable? Probably, right? If you do things right, if you are technically savvy and have really just dissected what it takes to become a billionaire next week, day trading, and that's the goal. Sure, it's attainable. Is it realistic, right? What's your timeline look like? Are you a father of 4, right? Like, so I got that. I hear you, and you're absolutely correct. And so when we talk to anybody who are setting goals that are too big, one thing I hate is like to tell somebody to think small, right? I look at, guys, if I could spend a full week with 3 people, you got Jay-Z, Mark Cuban, Ryan Seacrest. I want to know, right? I want to know how they all fit it in and like get it all. Like I'm just mesmerized by it. But
for me, Joe Rogan, Jocko Willink, The Rock. How the fuck are these guys doing this? Like
The Rock.
How are they running the table at pro level every fucking aspect of their life? Like, and I can't get one. Like, I'm barely getting one at like semi-pro level, and they're running all these. Like, how are they hacking that? Like, come on.
I don't look, and then you talk about like getting good sleep and meditation. It's like I don't know. But I wake up and I try to be the best version of myself. And it's a shitty version sometimes. It's a very good version sometimes. But when I die, I will have built a school for kids from broken homes and single parent families. And so without any disturbance in my life, I know that that's what's going to happen. And how I get there, Josh, like I said it before we started, want to make God laugh, tell me your plans, right? I've visualized 1,000 things that never worked out for me, right? And I think that, to kind of segue into that conversation, resiliency, I think that to just get up and say, I have something to look forward to, building that school, whether I get to build it or not, I know without a doubt, when I die, I will have built it. I may die tomorrow, but at least tomorrow, I know that I'll wake up with knowing that I'm going to build this school. How it happens, I don't know. I'm the director of operations, executive director at this point. I didn't know how I got here, but if there's a will, there's a way. So,
yeah, I'm just on that. I think I think a lot of people think too small. So I'm definitely an advocate of thinking big. And I just think the timeline is, for me, what's really helped is because I think a lot, and then I made the challenge of trying to build it all in now, which kept me running sprints, which is that resiliency conversation. So if I got big visions and I want to do it all now, the challenge with that is then you burn out and you don't have enough time. So one thing that's really helpful is like lifetime. This is my life's work. These are all the things that'll happen in my lifetime. And even Philip, it's been really helpful having best partner I've ever had. And So, I mean, we even had a conversation this morning. We're driving all these projects and then we check in and like, push things out. Right. And we're like, hey, what do we got to push out? We took on too much. We're realizing some things take a little bit longer. So let's push this out to next year. And that's been really helpful, is to be able to go, sometimes you take it on and are like, wow, this is the sweet spot. I'm going to actualize this now and put it into the world. Other times you're like, I want this vision. I'm going to keeping this vision going, but the timetable is going to get pushed out, and I trust that it'll happen, or somebody else will do it, and this will actualize in the world.
Yeah. You guys are good partners, I'll tell you that. And that's something, that I'm missing, and I'm looking forward to, is really finding a good team to work with. I think that's what I'm yearning for right now.
A clutch topic that bridges every single conversation about myself and you, Robert. The military, like, you were part of this cohesive team with a rock solid shared set of values and a vision and a clarified mission. Like, there it was. You go to USC. Oh, here's this built community. The Olympics. These are all these structured cultures that include a cohesive, integrated team capacity. And then you look at just the rank and file civilians who are out here in this wild west of lone wolves scavenging, and you go like, there is a gap between the lone wolf civilian people and then their team. And I think that is a central conversation of our times, is that how do we build, I call it tribe, because, that's my anthropology vibe. Like, I think it's tribe, or you could call it team, or you could call it whatever it is, but that's that you just touched on it. That's the center of it all.
Hey,
go
ahead.
I say, I'm sorry, my big thing is it takes a village. And one of my favorite books over the pandemic was Culture Code. I think that culture is one of the most important things to drive. And so much so that when you start to put yourself into new positions to look for new jobs, they're like, do you have the qualifications? I may not have these qualifications, but what I understand is that you use Excel different than let's say Red Bull, right? On the top of the head. And what I understand is that if I don't fit into this culture, then it's not going to work anyway. So that culture is the most important piece.
Right. Well, and just one topic on that, you were talking about Jay-Z. One of my good buddies moved to Maui, or not Maui, the smallest island in Hawaii, and it's Kauai. And there's a really small tip where everybody lives together, and Jay-Z lives there, and a lot of other amazing individuals. And one day he walked up to the beach, and he said it's one of his favorite stories. He's like, what am I going to ask him? And he walked up and he said, hey, with all everything you've learned, everything you've done, like, what's the best thing you could share? Like, what's the best thing you could share of all your learnings, of all your success? What's made you not financially successful, but as a human, what's made you successful? And he said he took a minute, thought about it, and then he was like, I've been really good at taking ideas and then finding really good people to execute them. And like, that was a sweet spot, is like, I surround myself with good people. I take the idea, and as fast as I can get it into them to execute it, that's the sweet spot. That's his greatest tip, which is tribe, community, and how they take on the world is because they have really good teams surrounding them to execute. Yeah, they got villages.
Hey, let me ask you guys this, right? Because I assume I can speak with from my own experience, right? You two are high performing gentlemen doing great things at a fast pace. I assume that a lot of people want to be attached to you constantly, right? They want direct access. And with that being said, and I'm going to include myself in this conversation, like, we have a lot of people reaching up to us with ideas and like, hey, I want help with this. Can you help with this? Or will you join me with this? And it's like, well, when we have big ideas and reach back down, it's not as accepted or reciprocated, right? Or maybe the quality of work is not, that high performing. And I do find myself in that turmoil when it's trying to build this culture that, like, I talk about this often, right? My very first podcast, I talked to my guide in boot camp, and And he said, you know, I have a mentor that says, you know, I want to have a yacht, but I want all my friends to party on the yacht with me. And I was like, oh, that's a cool like saying. But I took it and I was like, I want to be on the pinnacle of a mountain, and I don't want to have to come down and tell you what it looks like. I want to bring you up so you can see it with me, right?
Mhm.
But like when you start to bring people up, like there's this codependency that like, I don't know, man. I do you kind of see where I'm going with the comment? How do you vibe with that?
Hey, I put a lot of thought into this recently as I've been, I mean, I'm climbing the ladder out of my ancestral curse, you know, of how I was raised and my issues with, you know, money and success and all this shit. And I'm gonna use what you said previously. Energy can be neither created nor destroyed. And I'll add to that energy cannot travel through a vacuum. It cannot. Like that's why sound dies in space. So I believe that people need projects to serve as a medium of the energy of their relationships. And if you are not doing a project together, don't fuck with me about coffee. I mean, those guys who want to hang out with me, hey, let's go get coffee. I'm like, you want to talk about a project? Yeah, I'll drink coffee while we're planning something. But, you know, and I don't think we're designed to just go have coffee. I think we're designed to go hunt shit.
Is this why you turn down golf next week?
Well, hey, listen, part of that is like, there's no band in the way that my life is set up.
I know.
We're hunting, right? Because that's what I'm doing. I mean, at this point in my life, and I'm 55, and I'm going like, dude, windows are closing for me. And I got to hit those fucking windows. If
I don't know, Josh, tell them about Colonel Sanders.
Well, but hey, listen, some of the windows are like, how long are you going to play volleyball at a competitive level, bro? When you're 55? When you're 65? No, you are at that point, you're, you know, lucky if you're making it to the beach. Like, okay, cool. So I want to hit windows, and I have certain windows of vitality, physicality. And then I'm going to play in the spiritual game, which is a very different game. Like I'm in the world game right now, which is I'm building the villages, I'm building the kingdoms. And, you know, I think there's a natural progression of, okay, now you're going to see me wearing weird robes and shit in about 20 years. And I'm going to be that guy. But right now I got to hit hard and relentlessly with what I want to do in the world.
Yeah. So, I agree with that. And again, I think there's a challenge that comes with it is as you start to build and create momentum and get results and heal some of the past wounding, a lot of people are inspired and want to reach out and get information to help them. And it becomes a tricky space because you're like, I have very little time because I'm trying to actualize all the things I'm wanting to put into the world. And I relate to Philip is your bandwidth gets less and less. Then you add in resiliency, which I never did before. So I could function doing all the things. And then I would spend all the rest of the time, instead of taking care of myself, giving to everybody else who had a little question, because I was trying to meet my savior need unconsciously. And it was a way that I would avoid taking care of myself. So now that resiliency is so high, my schedule even got smaller. And so what ends up happening is, I think at least where I'm at is like, here's what I'm building in the world. Either if you want to help build this, cool, then we could talk around, but it's even narrowed from like, what can we collaborate on to, this is what I'm building. If it aligns with this and it's going to actuate the things I'm driving further, then it's part of a conversation. And if not, then if you're a team member to help, cool. Or I think that's what this K4 community has done is I'm taking more and more stuff off my plate and I'll give it to the community. And that's where I'm finding the richness is like, oh, I can still give because I really love mentoring. I really love helping to create other leaders and help other guys find it. But just creating a container around it is like, oh, here's, you want to do it? Join K4, right? Like if here's the containers I got. If you're not in one of the containers, then let me find you somebody else who's in a similar place that I was a couple years ago. And that's what I'm also learning is good allies to say, hey, here's some good female allies. Here's some good coaches that are getting started that have a lot of tools, but different price points or different paces, or even just pricing. Like I now have a rule. I don't coach. I don't give friends advice, which before I would spend so much time coaching my friends. And now I'm like, I want friendships. Like I want to hang out. I want to, like, if we are going to hang out and go do something, like, I want to be me. I don't want to be coaching you constantly and not the dynamic. So I've had to put a lot of boundaries on, and it was real uncomfortable for a while. I had a whole team of friends that would lean on me every time they went through a problem. I was the problem solver, and I had to say, I don't want to solve your problems anymore. Like, like unless you're in a container where there's a bunch of guys helping, I don't want that pressure. So I think there's been a lot of boundaries shifting, helping, or pay me. And now I'll work with you in a client setting. That'll work. Or again, K4, we have it built in. There's 8 guys on a round table. They all can help you unpack it. And it's not just on me. So that's been really helpful of reshifting that, but it is a hard decision. And I think you continue to get more of it. And so it just has to be comfortable saying, let me find you a resource.
Yeah. I hear that.
An example, Josh, of what you're saying about enabling people within the community or the village was when, Micah Buck, another Marine, Eric Rutherford, both K4 guys, they independently started a tactical retreat, this heart-based warrior retreat in Colorado a couple months ago. And we didn't have anything to do with it. We created this, this platform for them, and they ran with it. And the value that they ended up creating for themselves and for 20 other men was profound.
And us.
Yeah.
We were there.
Yeah. And we participated in it as a participant, and it was life-changing.
Look, I'm telling you, I'm yearning to be around other high performers right now. Look, I just turned 40, right? There's been huge shifts in chapters, and right now I can feel it in the air, man. There's a shift. It's ready to happen. It came as a very big blow to the family. But I have time to venture out into the world and say, okay, what am I curious about? What do I want to get into? Whereas like my first chapter of transformation was from the Marine Corps to the civilian world, right? I was court-martialed for helping a buddy out of a fight, and I was allowed to continue my service. I got honorably discharged, and then I kept my security clearance. So I came out of the Marine Corps at this 1% of, you've been found guilty in a court-martial, which is typically a felony because you go to jail, right? But I never stepped foot in jail. I came out and I was in this limbo spot of like, what am I able to do? So I found this job. I made 125 right off the bat. I had to be gone for 6 to 8 months. And then burnout. We got burnt out from there. And then we had Jake. Jake was about 3 months old. I was back in Korea, and I can hear my wife's voice. Like, I didn't sign up to be a single mother. So that was the shift to go back to school, right? And so all these small shifts, they have drastically changed just the map, right? Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, just I want to focus on this one, add one piece is what's really inspired the shit out of me is being around all you men. Cause I was lone wolf for most of my life, and lone wolf, you don't see anybody else. You're kind of in your own silo. You're doing your own thing.
Yeah.
But really having community of fucking strong men and getting to peer into their lives on a regular weekly basis. What shifted for me more recently, which created a lot more urgency as well, is I was like, I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. I want all that. And I realized like I have all these creative projects that I was saying someday, oh, I'm going to do this someday and that someday. So what's really shifted for me is seeing the extra capacity it takes to be present with your wife, to be present.
Windows, bro. Windows close.
That's what I'm seeing. And I'm going, oh, if that's coming, I need to take every spare ounce that I have. If I'm not taking care of myself with my body or my health or my rest or my vitality, like I need to spend every ounce to get these projects into the world and build a foundation so I can be present and have capacity for family. So it really shifted me to go all the areas I was fucking off. I was like, I'm fucking off here. I'm here. All these areas. I was like, let me get rid of all those. And let me really just put every ounce I got into actualizing what I can in the world to really prepare for that next window to come in. So I'm set up for it. So I just want to acknowledge both you men and all the other men that have had, wives and kids and the capacity that takes, because that's a big bandwidth. That takes a lot of time. And so all the single people listening to this call, are you fucking off? Are you screwing around? And do you want something else? And use the time wisely, because if you want that and it's coming, you got a small window before you get it. Like get it all into the world so you could have that bandwidth.
Yeah, you should be in Jedi Academy phase, which you are.
Yeah.
Like you're living the closest Jedi life that I know. I mean, you're all your feminine cleanse and your bodybuilding and your business, scaling and spiritual practice. Like I think you're actually on a very good trajectory for all of us. Way ahead of me where when I was.
Well, and I think thank you. I fully receive that. And it came from you and other good men telling me this and giving me feedback and supporting me to actually step into it. So I think that's where that whole comes from, because how much time and energy does kiddos, if you want to be a good dad, you got to be present and spend a lot of time. If you want to be a good husband, you got to be present and spend a lot of time. So just seeing how much that took and wanting that, I finally stopped looking. I think I was distracting myself because I wanted it and didn't have it, and was distracting myself in distractions to kind of shove my loneliness or, apathy essentially. And I started saying, fuck it. I'm going to create it. This is coming. I believe in it. Use the visualizations, right? Here's what I'm calling in. And let me cut off everything but that. Let me say no to everything but it. So I just wanted to put this in for anybody that doesn't have that and wants it. Cut your distractions, use the visualization tools and believe you can get it, because use the window now. Step into that Jedi.
Yo, to piggyback on that, Josh, and to add value to that, right? Sometimes going to get it is not achieving, something that's attainable, like, going to become mayor or, building a business. Like for me right now, going to get it is re-examining my interpretation of who I am as a father and husband, right? Like my go get it is go face this family right now, right? And I'll tell you how K4 has really put a pin in some stuff for me, which is like, we talk about the princely behavior, right? We talk about, and I catch myself so often now because of the help of the organization and the conversations that I've had, that my favorite K4 moment of truth story for me is that I'm sitting in my living room and my wife is arguing with this 7-year-old at the time, and he had like kind of popped off on her, and I was like, hey, what the fuck? And she turns to me and she goes, hey man, language. I go, language? That kid's popping off at you. That kid he's talking back to you. I can't say fuck in my house. I can say fuck in my house. What? Mad, right? I got up. I mean, they're scared, right? I've been told, and I had to have somebody tell me that, you're a big black dude, PTSD, 10-year Marine Corps vet, right? Like you're a scary dude. So you gotta kind of take the frame in. I stood up, I walked around the corner to the dining room, and I was like, man, you're being such a prince right now. And I took a couple breaths, got back into it. I turned the corner. I was like, I am so sorry for popping off like that. Right? Dude, since this course with you guys and like really diving down deep and owning my own shit, I am able to get to those moments of clarity and out of those princely behaviors way quicker, and then get stuff moving faster for progress, right? And that's helped me in my family, with my friends, at work. There's a lot of more growth, and there's always growth, right? You want to talk about transition? We're always transitioning. So
yeah, I think you make up a really valid point. I think when we talk about Jedi, the irony is, it wasn't that I put a focus on actualizing everything. It's actually that I was in the past I thought if I had a partner or relationship, that would help me heal it. I was looking for princely, adolescently looking for external validation to solve my problems. And I think the difference was I said, I got to solve it now. I got to heal my relationship with porn, my unhealthy relationship with women. Like I got to heal these patterns that have been reoccurring for years that I've been shoving under the rug. Like the way I look and feel about my body, the way handle these now. Like, don't wait for something to come to then fix it. Like actually just handle it. And I think the internal work of going into the hardest parts that I couldn't heal and having good men to block the exits and challenge me and hold me accountable to a higher vision is what now is actualizing the external. But it came from the internal work, which I love that you circled that around, Robert. It's not an external game. I think the internal game creates the external game.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a really nice bridge between the two big topics, right? There's the visualization topic, and really we're talking about an adolescent mindset. These are all of us men who are uninitiated, so we're still running this adolescent operating system, which includes a victim mindset or a small story potential. The function of visualization is, I'm hearing you saying, that is an intentional expansion of that small adolescent victim story to this is what winning looks like and feels like. So that's a really cool connection that I'm just kind of playing with right now about that is a reinforcement of the initiation process is active visualization.
Yeah. And then it spreads into your community, right? Once I started taking ownership of my stuff, my family started taking ownership of their stuff. I mean, and then, you know, neighbors and yada yada. So
I agree. I think that's the closest to God that we can do, as the process of us dying and then being resurrected continually through this hero's journey process. It accelerates everybody around us. Every time that, you know, I've had a little level up, you know, my wife levels up, and, you know, my neighbors level up, and you know that their level up is rippling out into the universe. So there is if you take this line of thought just a little bit further, you're in some deep spiritual terrain right now about humanity, meaning of life. Like these conversations are, and the work is bringing us closer towards something, which I dare not say, but we're on a path moving towards something.
Self-actualization. One of my favorite models of psychology is Maslow's pyramid of powerful needs, right?
Yep.
We're all moving to that self-actualization point, and every rung that we climb up, we're just helping the generations of people behind us, you know, get to there faster. So
that's your mountain, Robert.
That's my mountain, baby.
Bringing people up the mountain. Love it.
Hey, so such a valuable, useful call with a lot of nuggets for people to take from this. What would be a challenge? We always give a challenge on this, Robert. What do you think a challenge would be? Or Philip, anything that comes forward, like what would somebody listening, what can they do to implement this into their life this week?
I would say that the challenge is to be clear, right? Clear on intention, clear with the words that come out of your mouth, clear with the direction of the route you're going to take to pick up your kids, but be clear, right? Be clear. And if you have a goal or something that you're trying to achieve in the near future, just start in the near future, right? Let's not be big, you know, but it takes the first step. It's all cliche. All that cliche stuff is cliche because it's there, because it's supposed to be there. It's just like when laws are made, it's because somebody broke the law and some government had to say this has to be a law because some stupid person, right? The cliches are for us stupid people to say, oh yeah, all we have to do is take one step and then another and then another. So my challenge is clarity. Work on clarity and try to make it more clear, even when you think it's clear.
I love you, man.
I love you, brother. See you on Saturday.
All right. Hey, yeah, see you Saturday, and look forward to doing the good work with all those veterans out there.
Hey, and real quick before we get off, hey, Robert, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, learn more about you, reach out to you, connect with you, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Currently, you can get at Year of the Vet on Facebook, yearofthevet.com. That takes you straight to the podcast. And I am at currently DAV, Disabled American Veterans, Department of California. So veterans out there who are looking to get connected to their service-connected benefits, please do reach out to us at DAV, Disabled American Veterans, DAVCAL.org. That's another way you can get a hold of us. So those are the ways, gentlemen.
Show notes.
Awesome. Those will be in the show notes, and deeply appreciate you, man. Thanks for joining us today. Love you, brother.
I appreciate it.
Great to have you on here.
See you Saturday, buddy.
And everybody else.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Bye, Don.
And everybody else, stay battle tested.